He sees the distinction. A lot of people in this world don't see that distinction, but he sees it. And I think this is the main reason why Yah sent Yahusha to him. He saw the distinction. He had a heart. He had a true heart for Yah. Because he points out that, look, it was Yah. It was who separated me from my mother's womb. He knew who was more important, not his father, but the creator.
Yeah, blessings on blessings, yeah. Blessings on blessings.
Have you heard about the dispute between Paul and Kepha? Paul had to tell Kepha about himself. Let's take a look at that real quick. Let's take a look at this. It's going to be Galatians chapter 2, 11 and 12. Galatians 2, and 11 and 12. It reads here, right? It says, "But when Peter was come to Antioch, I withstood him to his face because he was to be blamed. For before that a certain came from James, he did eat with the Gentiles. But when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision. And other Jews disassembled likewise with him, insomuch that Barnabas also carried away with their dissimulation." All right. They were carried away with their dissimulation. There's a lot of little things that we may be confused about here, but we clearly see that there was an issue. There's a dispute. And that's what I want to talk about today, Mishpachah. I want to talk about that dispute. I want to dig down and let's try to gather, what did Kepha actually do wrong? He says, "But when I saw that they walked not uprightly according to the truth of the gospel, I said unto Peter before all, if thou be a Jew, liveth after the manner of the Gentiles, and not as do the Jews, why compellest thou the Gentiles to live as the Jews live?" What I want you to pay attention to is, it says, walked not uprightly according to the truth of the gospel. To the truth of the gospel, Meshpachah. There we go. That's the issue I have. What does it mean that he says that it's not uprightly according to the truth of the gospel? I know, but the thing that was getting me is that Kepha is supposed to be righteous, right? He's an apostle, he's a disciple, he's an encourager and a keeper of Torah. But he says, Paul says that he walketh not uprightly. But we understand to be upright is to be righteous, to be just. As we go on, we're going to justify it. So that threw me for a loop. Is he calling him a sinner? What is he calling him? And it's amongst other Jews. But what Paul says is that it's according to the truth of the gospel. The uprightness is not according to Torah, it's according to the gospel. So that means that there's a dispute that he has. There's something that he's not keeping according to the gospel. So, Mishpachah, that's what we're going to talk about. What is the deeper meaning? What is the deeper issue that's going on with Kepha or between Kepha and Paul? And what is this, as you would say, what is this dilemma or complication that even Yahusha had with the Jews or with the men, right? Because the same issue that he's had is the same issue after his passing. It still continues, right? It's an issue that continues to be had. So that's what we're going to talk about today. In order for us to get a better understanding, I think we got to go back. We got to go back to Galatians chapter 1 so that we can paint a clearer picture of what the issue that Paul is really getting at here. So let's take a look at Galatians chapter 1. All right, Mishpachah. So Galatians chapter 1, I'm going to do verses 6 through, we're going to walk through 6 to probably 18, right? All right. So here in Galatians 6, we're going to start here. It says, "I marvel that you are soon removed from him that called you into the grace of Yahushua Mashiach unto another gospel, which is not another, but there be some that trouble you and whirl and would pervert the gospel that the Messiah, of the Messiah." So we understand that Paul is writing a letter here. Paul is writing a letter, and when he writes a letter, he's writing a letter to a specific point. You understand? In 1 through 5, he says, Paul, an apostle, not of men, neither by man, but of Yahushua Mashiach and Elohim, the Father who raised him from the dead, and all the brethren which are with me unto the churches of Galatia. Hey, grace be to you and peace from Yahuwah the Father and from our Master, Yahushua Mashiach, who gave himself for our sins that he might deliver us. He said us. He said, man, we are in the same lot together. Deliver us from the present evil world according to the will of Elohim and our Father, to whom the glory, the kabod, forever, the esteem, forever and ever. Okay? Forever and ever. But then he says, I marvel that you are soon removed from him that called you into the grace of our Messiah unto another gospel. Hold up. I marvel that you are so soon removed, which is not another, but there be some that trouble you that would pervert the gospel. So that means that off the break, he's look, grace be to you from on high, but there's some people around y'all that's perverting this word that we know came from the Messiah, and this is heavy to me because this is about all of us. It's about all of us, right? So he wastes no time getting into it. He continues by saying, but though we are an angel from the Shamayim heaven preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. As we said before, so say I now and again, if any man preach any other gospel unto you than that you have received, let him be accursed. He said it 2 times. So that means that there is somebody that's out there there's a gospel that's going around that is not of the gospel that was sent by Yahushua Mashiach. And Paul is putting his foot down. He's, man, look, I ain't for this. I'm writing this letter to y'all because I heard that there's some people over there that's preaching something that's not supposed to be preached. Might be some adding to and taking away being done according to a standpoint, to the point that he says it twice. Let him be accursed. And then again, he says, man, let that person be, he's not playing with him. Let him be accursed, right? Accursed, because it's a serious matter. Let us continue in 10. It says, for do I now persuade men or of Elohim, or do I seek to please men? For if I yet pleased men, I should not be the servant of the Messiah. I shouldn't be the servant of Yahushua Mashiach. If I'm seeking to please men, then I'm not doing Yahushua justice. But I certify you, brethren, that the gospel which was preached of me is not after a man, right? For I neither received it of a man, neither was I taught, but by the revelation of Yahushua Mashiach. For you have heard of my conversation. Before I get there, it seems like the issue that he's talking to right now is that there's an issue, let's say, of a little tad bit of slavery. There's some lordship going on. There's an issue of people forgetting about Yah, but seeking to please other people and man, not the Messiah and not Yah, right? For do I seek to please men, or if yet please men, I should not be the servant of Mashiach. So he's pointing out the clear point that in order for us to serve, we don't serve Yah and man. We don't serve men. We're not people pleasers. So he's showing that there's an issue right now that the Galatians are going through about people serving men, right? People caring about the words of men over the words of Yahushua Mashiach. All right, let's continue. So it says, for you have heard of my conversation in the time past in the Jews' religion, how that beyond measure I persecuted the church of Elohim and wasted it. He persecuted it, right? And profited the Jews' religion above many my equals in my own nation, being more exceedingly zealous of the traditions of my fathers. But when it pleased Elohim, who separated me from my mother's womb and called by his grace to reveal his son in me, that I might preach him among the heathen, immediately I comfort not with flesh and blood. Neither went I up to Jerusalem to them which were apostles before me, but I went into Arabia and returned again into Damascus. Then after 3 years, I went up to Jerusalem to see Peter and abode with him 15 days. So right here we see like Paul is giving his breakdown of where he came from. And he's talking about what issues, he talked about the issues that he had previously, right? So here it says, Paul, before he came into the revelation of Yahushua Mashiach, he was a persecutor of the church. He was a zealot. He was zealous for the word, but he points out here that he was zealous of the traditions of the fathers, zealous of the tradition of his fathers. Pay attention to that. So he was held by the traditions of men, right? And he says, but when it pleased Elohim who separated me from my mother's womb, I love when he says that. When he separated from my mother's womb, he's showing you distinction, the value, right? I did a lesson about value previously, but he sees the distinction. A lot of people in this world don't see that distinction, but he sees it. And I think this is the main reason why Yah sent Yahushua to him. He saw the distinction. He had a heart. He had a true heart for Yah. Because he points out that, look, it was Yah. It was who separated me from my mother's womb. He knew who was more important, not his father, but the creator who put his seed, put him in his father's seed in order for him to exist in the first place. He didn't say his father. He saw that clearly. You know, what it says that if anybody struggle to put father, mother, brother, sister-in-law before you, right? Or before Yah, is not worthy of him. But he clearly is pointing out this distinction right here. So again, it says, but when it pleased Elohim who separated me from my mother's womb and called by his grace, right? Because of his support, he allowed him to be able to do this. He's, look, because of his support, he was able to be where he is now. He's continuing, says, to reveal his son in me, that I might preach him unto the heathens. Immediately I conferred not in my flesh. This right here, I love this part. A lot of these words, I didn't even know what they meant. So what does it mean when he says, I conferred not with my flesh? Let's take a look at that. Conferred. All right. So conferred here, it says, I like this meaning here. It says to talk together or exchange ideas, often with the intention of reaching a decision about something. I need to confer with a lawyer. Also, it continues, says to the term conferred generally means to grant or bestow or formally give something, such as a right, a title, or a benefit. All right. So what I'm gathering from here, and this is the mistake that a lot of us make, is that he's saying, look, he didn't confer. Because a lot of people, when they get something or they receive something, they want to run quickly and try to either debate somebody or try to lord over somebody with it, or try to be like, look, I received this thing. You got to get it from me. I got this great information. I need to be your leader. I need to go out there and just tell the world and start a movement. Did y'all catch that? But he didn't do that. Let's see. What did he do? So he says, immediately I confer not with flesh and blood. That means that I didn't go over there and tell a bunch of people. He says, neither went I up to Jerusalem to them which were apostles before me. He said, I didn't even go to the apostles, but I went to Arabia and returned again to Damascus. Then after 3 years, I went up to Jerusalem to see Peter and abode with him 15 days. So he said he waited 3 years. That means that when this revelation was brought to him, right, Mishpachah, let me talk to y'all. When this revelation was brought to him, Mishpachah, he sat on it. He waited. He studied it out. He took his time and waited 3 years to make sure that what he received, that he got it, right? That he got it. And then he went to an apostle. He went to Peter for 15 days and just hung out with him. Now, I like the fact that you see here that he went to Jerusalem and kicked it with Peter for 15 days, all right? You see, this is the start of the connection between himself and Peter, right? So I just wanted to point this out. That's right, Imai. Paul is not allowing flesh and blood to get in the way. So now, Mishpachah, we're going to go back into Galatians chapter 2 when Paul going to start making his moves and we're going to start to see what's brewing. Right now, we see that the point of this letter at this time is to help the Galatians deal with the issue of people still suffering from the pressures or the influences of the traditions of men, right? So Paul is going to continue on this and give examples in chapter 2. And this is where we're going to get why he has this dispute with Peter and how he dealt with it. So in Genesis chapter 2, we're going to let's do 1 and 2, because this again is going to point a good picture. He says, then 14 years after I went up again to Jerusalem with Barnabas, I took Titus with me also, and I went up by revelation and communicated unto them that the gospel which I preached among the Gentiles, but privately to them which were of reputation, lest by any means I should run or had run in vain. But neither Titus, who was with me, being a Greek, was compelled to be circumcised. All right. And that because of false brethren unaware brought in, who came in privately to spy out our liberty, which we have in Yahushua Mashiach, that they might bring us into bondage. But who are they going to bring them unto bondage to? Continuing in 5, it says, to whom we gave place by subjection, now not for an hour, that the truth of the gospel might continue with you. All right. So a lot is coming here, right? So Paul was out here putting in the work. He had Barnabas, he had Titus, and it said that Titus, being a Greek, he's Gentile-ish, right? He was not compelled to be circumcised. And it says because of false brethren. Now, this says false brethren, right? False brethren. Why did he call them false brethren? Because it be some fakes out here, y'all. It be some fakes out here. Matter of fact, give me a 7 in the chat if you've come across some fake brews. For those of you who've been in the game for a while and been studying, how many of you all came across fake brews? Man, look, they'll have the right clothes. They'll try to say all the Hebrew words correctly from their standpoint. They be rowdy, but they still be carnal, Mishpachah. They still be carnal. I seen brews, they still sagging their pants. You know what I'm saying? They still willingly, I could see if someone had like drug issues, but they still be in the streets. They still talk like they in the streets. But it's a club for them to come together. The point that I'm making is you don't see Yah in them. There's no light in them. They still suffering from lust. They still chasing women. As soon as a woman come by, they going crazy. They gotta catch them all. They trying to have 3, 4, 5 of them. They ain't talking no word. They just fake. They just want to look the part and just be in the club. I didn't believe it at first, but it's true. It was hard for me coming into the truth. I thought coming into the truth that we will be avoiding the fakes. It's fakes all over the place, Mish. So that's why it says here, the false brethren. The false brethren. Because he saw it, he peeped it. It says the false brethren, and that because of false brethren unawares brought in, people didn't even discern that they was false brethren. They wise enough. Maybe they were still babes, but I brought them also in, right? He says, who came to spy out our liberty, which we have in Yahushua Mashiach. We're supposed to be brethren. Why are there spies in our people? That makes no sense. Why are there spies in our people, Mishpachah? There's infiltrators everywhere. But the whole point that I wanted to bring out here is that these false brethren, they want to spy out the liberty. Liberty means freedom. Paul makes a great point. He says they trying to spy out my freedom, which I gained through Yahushua Mashiach. I'm free. because they just want to put me into bondage. Oh my goodness. They want to put you back. Look, you become free and they trying to find some kind of way to put you back in bondage, put you back under them. They trying to look, you break free, you come into this truth. It's like people, I watch YouTube enough, and I'm pretty sure that y'all been around the block long enough to know that there are scammers out here galore. It's all kinds of schemes and all kinds of stuff, right? People out here trying to do a good work. People out here trying to get out of debt. They're getting their debt straight, and they're trying to get the up and up. They're trying to invest. They're trying to get out of, because we know debt is slavery. Debt is slavery, right? People trying to get out of debt. They're trying to get out of the hold of the man. And then the first thing that we try to look for is another melanated brother or sister, because we think that they're our brothers, that they're going to look out for us, that we're from the same cloth, and that the person won't do me no harm. It's a lot of brothers and sisters that's out there scamming. I just constantly hear about all these real estate and all these money trapping schemes. People investing in land or giving their money to some of these people, not all of them, but I know some people that got plots of land and they making their own community and making their own compound. Some of them are successful, but a lot of them are not. A lot of people lose their money because of the brethren. They go there and they have to submit all. They're trying to do the right thing. They said that we sheeps amongst wolves, right? They went them out. We are sheeps amongst wolves, but the wolf is is still the same skin color as you. Pastors getting people, constantly taking people money. Churches taking people money. You trying to be free in the Messiah. They're supposed to teach you the Messiah, but you got to work out a subscription and a payment plan to show up to their church. They locking doors on y'all. I wish somebody would try to lock a door on me, talking about if I'll put some money in this spot, I can't leave. Hopefully y'all understand a Goshen Group. We don't even collect a salary out here. If you don't like people just trying to take all your rent money, come holler at Goshen Group, man. Whatever you can give, we're going to try to give it back to you. Hallelujah. I ain't trying to make a commercial, but I'm just saying, man, like, you got people that not even trying to give you the word, that don't care about your personal well-being. They want to put you in bondage. Laban and Yaakov, that's right. They're false, because the reason they call them false brethren, Mishpachah, is because if they was your brothers, they would love you. Charity. They would show you charity. But no, they want to put you in bondage. They want you, they like, oh, you out here? They see you as game. They trying to gain from you. That's not cool, Mish. That's not cool at all. So he peeped it. And he says, to whom we gave place by subjection, no, not for an hour, that the truth of the gospel might continue with you. He said, let's talk about this subjection. Let's talk about this subjection right here. This is such a cool word. I get on my own chilling in here. I have them get the red book, and they know what the red book is. It's that dictionary. What's this word? Oh man, you better go get that. Go grab that Webster's. They like, yeah, go grab that. But it's just so that they can see, because I know they watching. I be looking upwards. Subjection, right? Subjection. It says subjection is when a person, group, or government forces another person or group of people to submit or be controlled. So it says a state of being under political control or another control or state, right? The act of subduing, the act of vanquishing and bringing under dominion. So what's being talked about here, Mishpachah? What's being talked about? Paul is talking about someone trying to have dominion over them. He said, but nah, we ain't doing that. No, not for one. He said, man, I ain't give him not 1 hour. Not for an hour. He didn't fall for the okie doke. He got up out of there. He says, and the reason that he did that, he says that the truth of the gospel might continue with you. Paul had discernment. He wasn't even around like that. And because he studied that word, and he knew. He was like, all right, I know what's going on out here in these streets. He knew what's going on in these streets. And that's what we got to do sometimes. When we see these people coming up and coming around like that, when we see false brothers and false teachers and stuff coming around, they try to dominate conversations. They try to put their input. You know what I don't like? I don't like it when somebody comes to me and try to tell me what I need to do, and they don't even know me. You didn't even ask me if I needed help. You didn't even ask me anything. You just came into me and just saw me and be like, look, you need to do this. You need to do that. You don't even know me. You didn't ask me my name, shake my hand, ask me where I'm from. But you got the nerve to try to tell me, like, out of nowhere, I'm sinning, or I'm not living right, or I don't know what I'm doing. Especially when it comes to this truth, when it comes to Torah. Like, even when it comes to Yah's name, and y'all know that I did a message on what is it, Yahweh and Yah. Like, what is Yah's name versus Yahweh? Check it out. Controversial message. I love it. But it served its purpose. It's people that will, just because you don't say Yahuwah right, or if you don't say Yahweh, or if you don't say Yahweh, they would, like, Bruce will just turn on you and act like you the problem. It's some people that's in other congregations that say, if you even say Yah, period, they call you a name. They say, oh yeah, you a Yah. What is that? We supposed to be brethren, but you have a problem with me because I'm trying to make a way? The only reason I'm bringing this stuff up, because this is true. This word is real. It's true. They was going through this stuff back then, Mishpachah. But we need to do what Paul does here. Paul pays them no mind. He pays them no mind. He don't give them no stage. He don't give them no stage, no leg to stand on. He keep it pushing. He don't give them no honor at all. He don't disrespect them, but he don't give them no honor. And that's what we need to do. We need to just be like, we can't just be standing, just letting people just dominate. Sometimes we got to put them in their place. Give them a soft answer in peace. We can't stand for that because we got little ones around us. We got other people, especially those who know. We got people that's around us, children, people that are weaker in the faith, people that are a little bit more confused, that when they hear these things, they could be corrupted. We got to protect our mishpachah for corruption. Not everybody is as strong as some of you are. Some of us are. A lot of us in this call are strong. That's why they in this call. But even with us, like, we got to take care of the sheep that's around us, those that are a little bit weaker, those that are still growing. We got to protect. We're priests. We're supporting the growth of the seed. It's still those that are in our garden that we're just trying to help grow. So we got to protect them from all these locusts that's out here. I'm off my soapbox now. So, yes, boundaries. So continuing with that, it says, but of these who seem to be somewhat whatsoever they were, it maketh no matter to me. Whoo, he flexing. Elohim accepteth no man's persons, for they who seem to be somewhat in conference, adding nothing to me. He says he's no respecter of persons. He says, I don't, like, these people, they couldn't add, like, there's a lot of people that be faking, these fake people, they don't add nothing to you. That's why I don't watch a lot of people's messages. I don't watch it. Like, I don't have to watch no influencer talker on TikTok or YouTube and stuff like that. I get it straight from the word. Now, if you do, there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't need to do that. It's certain things that's just not added to me. Also, if I see that their intent is not 100, I could see that they just doing it for views. They're not even talking about the word correctly. But anyway, but contrawise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me as the gospel of the circumcision unto Peter, for he that wrought effectually in Peter to the apostleship of the circumcision, the same was mighty in me towards the Gentiles. So the same motivations and the same motivations that was for Peter to go to the circumcision, the same thing for the Gentiles. It says, and when James, Cephas, and John, who seemed to be pillars, he kills me with it. He said, who seemed to be pillars, perceived that the grace that was given unto me, they gave to me Barnabas the right hand, gave to me and Barnabas the right hand of fellowship, that we should go unto the heathen, and they unto the circumcision. Only that we should remember the poor, the same which I also was for to do. So he's already on that mission to look after the poor, right? Paul is here on a mission to go and preach the gospel to the Gentiles, right? And Peter's supposed to be preaching the gospel to the circumcision. James and them, they're with the circumcision. They're all supposed to be preaching the gospel. You know, the truth, that's the freedom, the salvation in Yahushua Mashiach. You see, they're being witnesses to bring those that are lost into the fold. Either Jew or the scattered sheep, the Greek. Anybody that's willing to hear this word, they're there to guide them to Yahushua HaMashiach. All right, so now that stage is set, in 11 says, but when Peter was come to Antioch, and I withstood him to the face, because he was to be blamed for before that certain came from James, he did eat with the Gentiles. But when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them that were of the circumcision. And the other Jews disassembled likewise with him, insomuch that Barnabas also carried away with their dissimulation. So Kepha was chilling and kicking it with the Gentiles. He was fine kicking it with the Gentiles, right? Let me know if you think that is wrong. Do you think that Kepha was doing something wrong sitting with the Gentiles? Give me a Y for yes and give me an N for no. And if you don't know, you just don't know. That's fine too. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no if you think that Kepha was wrong for sitting and eating with the Gentiles. Here we go. We got some no's. We got some no's. Okay? It's okay if you don't know. Because I tell you, I didn't know. I was confused about this scripture for a good little bit. I was confused, but told Yah for bringing a revelation. So maybe, hopefully, we can all get an understanding. So it says that he did eat with the Gentiles, but when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision. And the other Jews dissembled likewise with him, meaning that they jumped up with him, insomuch that Barnabas, even his man, Paul's man Barnabas, that was going on a journey with him, also was carried away with their dissimulation. Oh, we got another vocabulary word. Let's take a look at dissimulation now. Dissimulation. This should be our last vocabulary word. All right. Let's see what dissimulation means. It says to hide under a false appearance. Dissimulation, right? The fact of trying to hide your real feelings, character, intentions. All right. So what's going on is that basically when James and them showed up with the circumcision, right? And I want you to pay attention. I'm going to read it again. It says, he did eat with the Gentiles, but when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them that which were of the circumcision. They was worried those that are of the circumcision. All right. Now, I want you to pay attention. There are two Jews and then Gentiles. There's three things to pay attention to. Let me see if we can catch them. He says, but when they were come, he withdrew in fear of the circumcision. And the other Jews disassembled likewise with him, insomuch that Barnabas also carried away their dissimulation. Put in the chat, is Paul a Jew or a Christian? Put in the chat, is Paul a Jew or a Christian? Oh, this is a hard one for y'all, huh? He's a Buddhist. He's a Buddhist, right? He's a Buddhist. A Jew. A Jew. A Jew. So there's a distinction. He says, and the other Jews likewise with him, insomuch that Barnabas also was carried away, right? Carried away in hiding their true intentions. So when James and them popped up, they was like, oh, shoot, we're not even supposed to be over here. The issue here is that there are two types of Jews here. There are Jews that are of the circumcision, those that are holding to specific traditions, and there are those that are of the belief of the gospel. Now, all right, there's three fingers. I can't do three. There we go. There's three. There are those that are of the circumcision that don't believe in the coming of the Messiah. There are those that do believe in the coming of the Messiah, but then there are also those that do believe in the coming of the Messiah, but they still hold to some of the traditions of men. They believe, but their traditions that was passed down to them, or their societal traditions, still hold true. They believe in Yahushua Mashiach, but they still move, forgetting about the overall mission. All right? What am I getting at? So what is being said? So really what's being said here is that Paul has an expectation for Peter. He knows that Peter knows something, and he's getting on him for some reason, right? So what is the thing that he's getting on him about? And this is why I want y'all to pay attention to those three types of Jews. So in 14, he continues and says, but when I saw that they walk not uprightly according to the truth of the gospel. Now we hear uprightly according to the truth of the gospel. I said unto Peter, before all, if thou being a Jew live after them of a Gentile, and not as do the Jews, why compellest the Gentiles to live as the Jews? You notice that he didn't say compellest thou to live as a Christian. I just want y'all to see that. He didn't say live according to a Christian. So that means that there are the followers of Messiah, of Yahushua HaMashiach, is considered a Jew. They're still considered Israel. All right? There are Jews that do believe and there's Jews that don't believe. But we want to run into that problem that they have, right? Because if you see this, it's like, because it will make perfect sense, this verse here. It says, I said unto Peter before them, if thou being a Jew livest thou as the manner of a Gentile, and not do the Jews, why compellest thou the Gentiles to live as the Jews? But is he compelling them to live? What Jew is he compelling to live as? That's the question. What Jew is he compelling them to live as? Because this will throw you for a curveball. This verse will throw you for a curveball because if you look, you will believe that the Jews are those that don't believe in the Messiah. Is Paul encouraging him to not believe in the Messiah? What is he being said if you didn't understand or you didn't think that this word Jew is throwing you off for a loop? But Paul is saying that the Jews are also those that received the covenant, the promise, those that Yahusha came for in the first place. Oh, because Yahusha Jew, by the way. Messiahs? Yeah. Just in case people didn't know that. But let us continue, right? Because he's holding Paul to a standard. So he says, so we who are Jews by nature and not sinners of Gentiles, knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Yahushua Mashiach, even we haven't believed in Yahushua Mashiach that we might be justified by the faith of Yahushua Mashiach and not by the works of the law. For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified. So it says, but if while we seek to be justified by Yahushua Mashiach, we ourselves also are found sinners, is therefore Messiah the minister of sin? No, he's not. For if I build again the things which I destroyed, I make myself a transgressor. For I through the law am dead to the law that I might live unto Elohim. You see, the issue that's going on here is that, before I get there, but we peep the issue that the circumcision had with Titus, and Paul protected him because there was tradition still being held of men that was still going around, even though the gospel is going around. There's still a tradition being held. Let's talk about this thing that's going on, right? Because there's something that we got to be careful of that the Messiah warned us about, right? Because there's something that these people are still, we read that they were fearful, right? They were fearful. Let's see what they were fearful of. Let's see what the Messiah say first, though. Let's see what the King says. So in Matthew, we're going to do Matthew 24, 4 through 5. Y'all already know what it is. So let's do Matthew 4, 24, 4 and 5. Yahushua answered and said unto them, like in these last days, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and shall deceive many. So first thing I just want to remind everybody that they probably forgot is that there are going to be deceivers out there. There's going to be false brethren. There's going to be people that's going to hold you captive. All right? Let's do John 8, 9, 18. What are some of these things that people are fearful of? Let's do 9, 18. Let's talk about the blind man here, right? So this talking about the blind man, and they're questioning the man that was once blind that Yahushua healed, right? And they're questioning like, who did this, or you're a sinner, and this and the word. And he's responding to them saying, they say unto the blind man again, what sayest thou of him that he hath opened thine eyes? He said he's a prophet. But the Jews did not believe concerning him that he had been blind and received his sight, until they called his parents of him that had received his sight. And they asked them, saying, if this is your son, who ye say was born blind, how then doeth he now see? His parents answered them and said, we know that this is our son, and that he was born blind, but what means he now seeth, we know not. Or who hath opened his eye, we know not. He is of age, ask him. He shall speak for himself. These words spake his parents because they feared the Jews. For the Jews had agreed already that if any man did confess that he was the Messiah, he should be put out of the synagogue. Therefore said his parents, he is of age, ask him. They were fearful of the Jews. Now, this is a different group of Jews, but understand that there is a fear of the Jews, those that still hold the traditions, that's not fully with Yahusha, right? In this circumstance, these are people that's not with him at all. These are not believers or those that want to believe at all. But I just want to point out that there is a fear of the Jews here, all right? So let's do John 12. We're going to do 12, 42, and 43. Just want to just continue to point out this fear, all right? It says, nevertheless, among the chief rulers also many believed on him. So these are believers, but because of the Pharisees, they did not confess him, lest they should be put out of the synagogue, for they loved the praise of man more than the praise of Elohim. There's a problem right there. People still love the praise of men. They didn't want to be put out of the synagogue. It's an issue. And that's why Paul said that he's no respecter of persons. He didn't care who it was. He probably didn't even care about James, Peter, and all of them like that. Anyway, he didn't care who they were. He was just like, man, what is the mission? Y'all lording over me like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just about this word. The only one that's over me is the king. You know what I'm saying? He's not groveling to anybody when it comes to this word because he found freedom. He was already under the traditions of his forefathers. He understood what that was about. Now he's out of there and he's like, nah, I'm free. I got to be with the king now. But I just want to bring that out because that's a growing issue today with the church. People will put themselves under the church. It's the same thing. They'll come out to go right back in. So let me get to this a little bit. Let's talk about, I said that Paul understood that Kepha understood something. Let's go take a look at Kepha and his visitation or his experience that he gained and knowledge that he gained with Cornelius. We're going to go to the book of Acts, chapter 10. All right. I'm going to try to keep this a little short. I'm going to try my best to. I'm going to jump down here. So I'm just going to jump straight to the vision so we can just save time, right? So right now, Kepha is having a vision and Yah through the Ruach HaKodesh is trying to reveal something to him. So let's check it out. So it says, and he became very hungry and would have eaten, but while they made ready, he fell into a trance and saw heaven opened up in certain vessels descending unto him, as it had been a great sheet knitted at four corners and let down to the earth, wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, Rise, Peter, kill and eat. And Peter said, Not, Master, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. Peep this. I have never eaten anything common or unclean. We're going to come back to this. It continues, says, and the voice spake unto him again the second time, Will Elohim have cleansed, call not common. All right. And the vessel was received up again into the Shamayim. Did y'all see, what verse did it say that Kepha ate? Can y'all tell me, was there a verse that said that Kepha ate the unclean food? Did y'all see that? Anybody see that verse? I didn't see. No, yeah, nobody saw it. When y'all come across because I've been looking for a very long time. I've been looking for the point in this verse that it says that Kepha ate unclean food. You know what I'm saying? Just let me know when you find it, all right? So it says, this done thrice, and the vessel was received up again into Shamayim, all right? So let's jump down. Let's continue. It says, now, while Peter doubted, because it continues here, it says, Peter doubted. It says, continues, it says, now, while Peter doubted in himself what this vision which he had seen should mean, behold, the men which were sent from Cornelius had made inquiry for Simon's house, and stood before the gate, and called to ask whether Simon, which was surnamed Peter, were lodged there. Right? Cornelius sent some men to go get. Cornelius prayed, and then a messenger was sent to him, and he was told to send for Kepha, right? So Peter thought of the vision again. And it says, and he called and asked whether Simon, which was surnamed Peter, was lodged there. While Peter was still thinking of the vision, thought of the vision, the Spirit said unto him, Behold, 3 men seek thee. Arise, therefore, get thee down and go with them, doubting nothing, for I have sent them. So through the Ruach HaKodesh, he's getting received commands. Now, through the Ruach, they also knows that Kepha's still trying to understand this daggone vision, right? So Peter went down to the men which were sent unto him from Cornelius, and said, Behold, I am he whom you seek. what is the cause wherefore you are come? And they said, Cornelius the centurion, a just man, one that feareth Elohim, and of good report among all the nations of the Jews, was warned from Elohim by a Kodesh Malachim to send for thee into his house, and to hear the words of thee. Then called he them and lodged. All right, let's point this out real quick. Who is Cornelius? He's a just man. So that means that Cornelius, just means what? Just means that Cornelius is what? Cornelius is a just man. Does that mean that he's righteous? I think that Cornelius was a righteous man. It says one that has the fear of Elohim and of good report among the Jews. So the Jews can't say nothing bad about Cornelius. He's a righteous man and fear of Elohim, right? And the fear of Elohim is the beginning of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. In the fear of Elohim, you gain the knowledge of Yahuwah. Why does Cornelius fear you? We ain't gonna get into that. But I just want you to know the characteristics of this centurion. Just man that fear Elohim. And because he's a just man, he fears Elohim. When he prayed, the Father answered him, sent a messenger to him, and then sent somebody to minister to him. Hallelujah. Just hold on to that. And on the morrow, Peter went away with them, and certain brethren from Joppa accompanied him. And on the morrow, after they entered into Caesarea, and Cornelius waited for them and had called together his kinsmen and near friends. So when Peter showed up, Cornelius was waiting for him, and he had gathered his kinsmen and near friends to see the messenger of Elohim. It says, and as Peter was coming, Cornelius met him and fell down at his feet and worshiped. Ooh, the humility. You got to be humble, right? Oh my goodness. He's checking off all the boxes. He says, but Peter took him up, saying, stand up, I myself am also a man. And he talked with him, and he went in and found many works come together. There's some work that need to be done here. He said unto them, now peep this, you know that it is unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. But Elohim has showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. He says it's unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one that is of another nation. Where did that come from? That it was unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one another of another nation. Does anybody have a verse for that? He says, but Elohim have showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. Therefore came I unto you without gainsaying. As soon as I was sent for, I asked, therefore, what intent you have sent me for. And Cornelius broke it down. He prayed, prayers heard, and thine alms had remembrance in the sight of Elohim, right? So, jumping down to 34 and 35, he says, then Peter opened his mouth and said, of truth, I perceive that Elohim is no respecter of persons, but in every nation, he that feareth him and worketh the righteousness is accepted with him. The word which Elohim sent unto the children of Israel, preaching peace by Yahushua, he is the master of all. So, you see, Peter gained the revelation. For I truly perceive that Elohim is no respecter of persons, but in every nation, he that feareth him and worketh righteousness is accepted. So that was the moment that he realized, like, the Jews had a tradition that was telling them that they should not keep company with the other nations. Peter received the revelation at that time. Yeah, Peter, Kepha, received the revelation at that time. That was his voila moment. Oh, Yah got him corrected through the Ruach HaKodesh. He says that all that fear Elohim and work his righteousness, Cornelius, a just man, you see, that fear Elohim has a good report amongst the Jews. Look, it's accepted. So now peep this, right? If we go back, if he had this understanding already, I think that Paul understood Remember, Peter was sitting with the Gentiles. If before that, he wasn't sitting and kicking it with the Gentiles, that means that he was sitting with the Gentiles because he received this revelation. And Paul understood that he received this revelation and they were on the same page. Because I asked, why was Paul getting on Kepha? Kepha received the revelation, but when the circumcision came, he still hopped up. He disassembled. Paul was calling them out for being fake. Paul was calling them out for being fake. Because I believe that Paul understood that Kepha understood what he understood. But he left him hanging. He left him hanging. The issue, let's get into, where did Israel get this idea of being clean and unclean from? Why is this a big thing? Because to be clean or unclean or common are things and terms that was used in the commandments when it came to things and food and water and all kinds of stuff, right? People. We had ordinance for that. We had statutes for that, right? So where did they get this idea to probably add this to Gentiles? So I think it's because the ordinance of Israel to be clean is a reference to the tabernacle. They turned it into a social standard, causing a division between them and the Gentiles, and toward the purpose of being clean for Israel to be able to approach and have access to the tabernacle. All right. Let's look at Leviticus 15:31. It says, thus shall you separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness. Oh, let me go do this. Thus shall you separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, that they die not in their uncleanness when they defile my tabernacle. Now, when they defile my tabernacle that is among them. All right. And then going back to 27. And who touches those things shall be unclean and shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in the water and be unclean until evening. I wanted to read this portion right here so we understand the uncleanness had to do with them coming in contact with the tabernacle. Why is it important to be clean and coming in contact with the tabernacle? You got to give your offerings to the tabernacle. 3 times a year, you got to present yourself to Yahuwah, right? So there's times that if you sin or any type of offering that you got to give, or you might need to pray, or you need a peace offering or something, you got to come to the tabernacle. And in order for you to even approach the tabernacle, you got to be clean. But there's a point. There's a point that needs to be made here that they overlooked or they stopped caring about. They twisted it, as I would say. I believe that they twisted it. Because Abba Yah had a plan. Abba Yah made standards and statutes for if you was unclean, right? He says, hey man, whosoever touches those things that make you unclean, a lot of the times, I'm just gonna tell you, a lot of the times, if you touch the unclean person, you touch the unclean vase, you touch the unclean water, majority of the time, dead body. Wash your clothes and bathe in water and be unclean to evening. It wasn't the end of the world. You was just unclean to evening. People wasn't going to the tabernacle like every single day. People had jobs that they had to deal with unclean things, unclean animals, or had to get rid of dead bodies, or had to deal with lepers, or dealing with houses. It's all kinds of situations that people may end up being unclean, but there was an ordinance for you to be made clean. But in their mind, they made this distinction like these Gentiles, oh, they're so unclean, we can't even be in their presence. So now you're putting yourself above people who's also your brothers and sisters, because a lot of those, if people don't know, those Greeks, those scattered, matter of fact, let me just take you there. Let's do Matthew 10, and we're going to do 5 through 8. Because this is descended, they sent out the 12. And we're going to do 5 through 10. So it says, these 12 Yahushua Mashiach sent forth to command them, saying, go not into the ways of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go and preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the leper, raise the dead, cast out the devils. Freely you have received, freely you shall give. Now, did y'all peep that? All these things are people that's unclean. Did y'all catch that? These are all unclean situations. Sick, you got to quarantine, unclean. Lepers, unclean. raise the dead. If they dead, it was unclean. They raised them. They clean again. Well, how does that work? Cast out devils. People doing perverse things. They unclean. Freely you have received, freely you give. They were sent though, right? Now he says, these Gentiles are different Gentiles. But he says also not to the Samaritans, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Who were the lost sheep of the house? How would you know who the lost sheep of the house of Israel was? How would you know? The call, the kingdom of the Shamaim is at hand. But it says, provide neither gold nor silver nor brass in your purses, nor scrip for your journey, neither two coats, neither shoes, staves, whatnot. But how would you know? It says, in every city and town that you enter, inquire who is worthy. Inquire about it. Let's see what inquire. Test, ascertain, interrogate, question. And there abide till then. So they had to have discernment. They was going into these cities, they're preaching the kingdom. That's the bait. Hey, y'all, the kingdom of the Shamaim is at hand. Hey, who wants to be saved? Who's waiting for the Messiah? Come holler at me. And there's going to be some people that don't want it, and there's going to be some that come. And even those that come, they're called. They still got to they have to inquire. Cornelius was inquired about, right? When Peter inquired about Cornelius, he got it. He was like, oh. When he saw the hearts and he saw the fear, he was like, oh, man, I can't reject this dude. How would they know who's the scattered? How would they know who the lost sheep was? The lost sheep is going to have a desire for Yah. They're going to have a hunger for Yah. It's going to be on their heart. They know the shepherd's voice, that whole nine. All right. Let's talk just a little bit more. I'm going to close this up, right? Because he was sent. So let's deal a little bit more with these traditions, and then we're going to close this up, right? I think we're getting the gist of this. So Matthew 15:3, right? He says, let me get it. It says, then came to Yahushua the scribes and the Pharisees with Jerusalem, saying, why did thy disciples transgress the traditions of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. But he answered and said unto them, why do you also transgress the commandments of Yah by your traditions? For Elohim commanded, saying, honor thy father and thy mother, and he that curseth the father and the mother, let him die the death. There's death involved in this. But ye say, whosoever shall say in his father or his mother, it is a gift, by whosoever thou mightest be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made the commandment of Elohim of non-effect by your tradition. You put your tradition over Yah, the person, again, that Paul points out is the person that placed you in the womb of your mother. I just had to bring you back there, bring you back to remembrance. And then he continues and he says, to the prophecy, saying, the people draw nigh unto me with their mouth and honor of me and me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for the doctrines, the commandments of men. That's what we got to worry about, Mishpachah, the commandments and the traditions of men. People adding to and taking away from it. People twisting the word. People trying to gang you. Well, you supposed to be free. They trying to steal you. They trying to take you away. And we got to be careful, because that's what Paul was talking about. That's the issue that Paul, in the beginning of Galatians, when he was sending them letters, hey man, I hear there's somebody giving y'all twisting that gospel up, because from what I got of my study in the revelation that was given to me by Yahushua Mashiach is that all this other stuff is not added. It's just done away with. Like, the commandments are not done away with, but y'all adding traditions. And that's why he's trying to point out to them, like, you could keep the commandments and stuff, but keeping those commandments aren't going to save you. It's good for you to be knowledgeable of sin so you don't fall into sin, but it's through walking after the ways of Yahushua Mashiach. It's through his salvation that we're saved. Through him that we're, matter of fact, it was prophesied. Let's see. Because Isaiah said more than just that. Let's take a look at, we're going to do, so Galatians 3 and 7, and then I'm almost done, y'all. So Galatians 3 and 7 says that even as Abraham believed Elohim, and it was counted to him as righteousness, know ye therefore that they which are of faith, the same are children of Abraham. And the scripture foreseeing that Elohim would justify the heathen through faith, preacheth before the gospel of Abraham, saying, in thee shall all nations be blessed. And then let's jump to the prophecy. Let's jump to some prophecies. Y'all like prophecies. Let's do Isaiah. Let's do Isaiah 45:21. And we're going to do 21 through 25. We're going to do 20. He says, assemble yourselves and come and draw near together, ye that are escaped of the nations. They have no knowledge that set up the wood of their graven images and pray unto the deities that cannot save you. Tell ye and bring near ye that let them take counsel together, who have declared this from the ancient time, who have told it from what time. No, not I, Yahuwah, and there is no Elohim else besides me, a just Elohim and a Savior. There is none beside me. Look unto me and be ye saved, all the ends of the earth. For I am Yahuwah, and there is none else. I have sworn by myself, the word is gone out of my mouth in righteousness, and shall not return that unto me. Every knee shall bow, every tongue shall swear. Surely shall I say, in Yahuwah have I righteousness and strength. Even to him shall men come, and all that are incensed again him shall be ashamed. In Yahuwah shall all seed of Israel be justified, and shall the glory be there. Yah is the Savior, not man. He sent his son to be the Savior. This is the whole point of the gospel, is for saving. It's for saving, y'all, and showing you what you need to do, freeing you from the bonds and the bondages of men. I have one more for you all, and then I'm going to close it up. Let's do, maybe two more. Let's do Isaiah. We're going to do 43, and we're going to do 5 on, right? It says, fear not, for I am with thee. I will bring thy seed from the east and gather thee from the west. I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back. Bring my sons from far, and my daughters from the ends of the earth. Everyone that is called by my name, for I have created him for my glory, for my kabod, for my esteem. I have formed him. Yeah, I have made him. Bring forth the blind people that have eyes, and the deaf that have ears. Let all the nations be gathered together. Let the people be assembled. Who among them can declare this and show us former things? Let them bring forth their witnesses, that they may be justified, or let them hear and say the truth. Who can say these things, right? Yeah, my witnesses, saith Yahuwah, and my servant, whom I have chosen, that ye may know and believe me and understand that I am he. Before me there was no deity formed, neither shall there be after me. I am Yahuwah, and beside me there is no Savior. I have declared and have saved. I have showed when there was no strange deity among you. Therefore ye are my witnesses, saith Yahuwah, that I am Elohim. Yea, before the day was I am he, and there is none that can deliver out of my hand. I will work, and who shall let it? Mishpachah, we got to get out of the way. We got to get out of the way of Yah. Man is not the Savior. Man is not your Savior. In order for us to be saved in the first place, Mishpachah, matter of fact, let's go back a little bit further. We were created, Mishpachah. As Paul pointed out, it was Yah that placed us into our mother's womb. It was Yah that came up with the idea. It was Yah that created the womb in the first place. The whole process of creation came from Yah. We made a mistake. Our ancestors made a mistake. And now death is in the world, and we were on the trajectory to death. Now the same entity, the same Elohim that created us, it was not in his plan for us to die. So he made a plan in order for us to live. He made a way. He made a mediator. He made a guide to show us the way. He made prophecies. He made signs. He prophesied of the signs, and he prophesied of his coming. And he came and he did these signs, and he continued to prophesy. He continued to heal the blind, the sick, the deaf, the lame. He casted out devils. He did all the signs that people would know that Yah sent him and who he was. But there are people in this world that don't care about any of that. They just want you. They want your money. They want to corrupt you so they can feed off you because they don't want to eat from his hand. They don't want to be humble. They don't want to fast. They don't want to submit. They want their way. Yes, even melanated people that you think are your brothers and your sisters, you better inquire about them. You better test them because they may lead you astray. The corruptors are going to corrupt. That's what they do. The vessels created for destruction, and they would take everybody with them. They are seeds of their father, the devil. Don't fall for this. You better fall for the word. I started this off talking about the issues that was between Paul and Kepha. Now I truly understand what Paul was getting at with Kepha. It is not just for Israel, but the thing is, the criteria for us to call, it is not for us to deem clean or unclean. It's not for us to cast out anymore. People are going to cast themselves out. All nations, even the stranger. Don't forget that in Israel, there was a stranger. There were strangers amongst us that wanted to serve Yahuwah. They came, their purpose is for them to come to Israel so they can be saved. All those that was scattered. We were scattered and we mixed with other nations. So if people of other nations come and they look a little different, do we just reject them? Do we just call them unclean and not sit with them? Those are traditions of men. We need to make sure that we protect this word and so that we're not corrupted by the world round about us. We need to hold fast to the word of Yahuwah and stand by it because it's about saving people. It's not about what we want, but it's about what Yah's plan is and what he wants, not what we want and not what man wants. I would be like Paul and care less about what other people think about what you're doing. Care less about esteeming and respecting men just because they are whoever people big them up to be. Don't dissimulate. Stand strong and just be steadfast. Be vigilant. Well, Mishpachah, that's the message. I pray that it blessed you. I hope that you all got something out of it, that you enjoyed this ride. And for those who didn't quite understand this epistle, I hope this helped you out, that we all got a little bit something out of it.